Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're back with more theories on chapter 2, because a lot of stuff is happening and we gotta brainstorm a little bit. Okay, so first we need to start with the fact that I found something that I missed for our chapter 1 theories. So let's take a look at that real quick. The Playtime Co. Foster and Adoptive Care Initiative strives to create permanency in the lives of orphan children by recruiting adoptive and foster parents within our own organization. We encourage all of Playtime Co. employees to take part in our mission by fostering or adopting an orphan child. Participating employees may be eligible for additional benefits. This initiative helps children not only in the Midwest region, but also orphans around the world. Every child deserves a chance at a new life. So you already know we're gonna have to unpack that. So going back to chapter 1 still for a moment, that's where we found this poster. In the room where we get to make the toy, right before Huggy Wuggy comes through the door, okay? It's posted right on the wall next to the stairs over there. We're getting hints in chapter 1 about some orphans. What I took from this poster is that me, as an employee, okay, I'm being required to either foster or adopt a child. Can we unpack just that? You are a person and you're like, I need to pay these bills. I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna get a job. And I got this interview, Playtime Co. It's a toy factory, I'll make toys for kids, you know, whatever. I go, I do the interview, I get the job. I make toys for a living, okay? Next thing you know, my manager is posting posters, recruiting people as some sort of requirement, and even willing to say, oh hey, you know, if you participate in this, I'll give you some benefits. What kind of benefits are we talking about? But my manager posts a poster requesting that us as the employees adopt or foster a child. I'm sorry. I understand that there's orphans out there in the world, and I am so terribly sorry about that. But that is a process within itself, far beyond a manager being like, okay, we as a company are gonna foster and adopt these children. I can't afford that. I got a 1-bedroom. Where am I gonna keep the kid? I'm not, because I can't foster or adopt. Not to mention all of the legal stuff that you'd have to go through in order to do that. Do you really honestly think that you're going to walk up in there and be like, yes, Mr. or Mrs. social worker person, I'd like to adopt a child today. Okay, what are your reasons? Oh, well, so I get some benefits at work. Denied. Like, that's not gonna work unless you are in the mindset to do that. So the fact that the manager was like, let me post this poster here for my coworkers who build toys for a living, let's do this thing. Is that his pitch? He wants to make toys for children who don't have families? I'm on to you, Elliot. I'm on to you. We encourage all Playtime Co. employees to take part in our mission. In our mission. Okay, I feel like I'm coming at this from a sideways perspective because it's a scary game. It's a game where you walk up into this facility, you've been gone for X amount of years, everyone in the building has disappeared, And instead of finding your coworkers, you're finding a bunch of answers and questions, and the things that you do find are dark and eerie and mysterious, and you're just like, I don't want any part of this. And then they throw in this, and it's like, do you have ill intent behind this, or is this actually a good thing? Like, your mission as a company is to help the children of the world no longer be orphans, or to feel as though they're not an orphan anymore. But the fact that they're bribing employees, it's weird when your manager is posting posters like this and recruiting everyone in the facility and encouraging everyone to be a part of this. Like, it's not that simple. So that raises the question, how are they going about it to make it more simple for everyone in their facility to be able to do something like this and to gain benefits from doing something like this? Because a lot of people are like, oh, but those benefits though, let's go over there and do what we can to get them benefits. A lot of employees, no matter where you're working, are, they're not getting top-notch service and care as a human being. So 9 times out of 10, you give, people think like, oh, I give them some sort of benefit, they'll do the thing that I want them to do. And there are a lot of people who jump on that. Who are like, oh, I get some benefits, let me do this thing. And the fact that it's implied that it is that simple makes me think that there's something fishy about this whole situation. I could be wrong. I could just be tying it in to the fact that this is a scary game. So a lot of shady shit's going on. But like, that's my take. That's where I think this is going. Let me know down in the comments. What do you think about this poster having to do with orphans and fostering children from chapter 1? So now that we've caught back up from what I missed in chapter 1, let's take a look at the stuff that we've found in chapter 2. And something that I took from chapter 1 and also noticed is in chapter 2 are the death messages. And they're not the same, okay? So first let's go over the list of them, because yes, I wrote them down again. So the list of death messages that I took are: there are fates worse than death. This isn't about you. He is loose. This is an emergency lockdown. Innovation is key. May we forget death. Jumbled letters, because of course you gotta have the jumbled letters. Don't let them near you. You can take it. I never said it would be easy. It's not over. You can die later. Nobody is here by choice. We're just getting started. The prototype has saved us. Isn't that a wonderful? I still have plans for you. Okay. So, there are fates worse than death. As in, like, those who've died? Mommy Longlegs, maybe? Like, not that Mommy Longlegs is the fate that's worse than death, but the theory is that some sort of person underwent all of these experiments given from the lore papers that we received from chapter 2, with the rats and the poppy flower and stuff, and preserving them in that, and then basically killing them and preserving their body in that, and then weeks later trying to revive them. If the theory is correct that someone was turned into Mommy Longlegs and that process went, that process led to Mommy Longlegs, that's what I mean. Like, the fate worse than death is that I don't get to die. I'm now Mommy Longlegs. Or another creature like Mommy Longlegs. Also, with there are fates worse than death, like being killed and resurrected into a prototype. Now, the question is, we're thinking that the claw might be a prototype, right? So if that's the case, would Mommy Longlegs also be a prototype? And Huggy Wuggy and PJ? Would all of those be a prototype? Or would it be more like the claw, because the claw is like a little machine type thing, and the other ones are more like, I don't think they're just people in costumes, but for this example or this explanation, the prototype being like a robot thing and the other creatures being more like humans in a costume. So when I say being resurrected as a prototype, I'm talking more along the lines of a robot or like the claw. This isn't about you. Okay, well then who's it about? Because I seem to remember that in chapter 1, I got a letter in an envelope with a tape, okay, reminding me of the commercials that we have put out because we're an ex-employee. And I'm, coming back to investigate stuff because all of you have gone missing for the last 10 years. Like, is it about you? The people who are missing? Could this be revenge? Maybe it's about, saving those who are stuck. I don't know. At this point, I don't know who that could possibly be about, if not for myself or for the people that I'm trying to find. There's a message within this. He is loose. This is an emergency lockdown. Alright, so a couple people come to mind. Huggy Wuggy and the Claw. What are your thoughts? Who do you think that they're talking about when they say he is loose? Innovation is key. I think that I saw a room that said innovation, and so of course I still think that maybe there's a room that we have to go into that's labeled innovation, because they're bringing innovation up quite a lot between chapters 1 and now chapter 2. Something's got to be up with this innovation room, and I want in it. I still want in it. Maybe we forget about death. Like, you have been stuck for so long that you know that even death's not coming? Or is it more like so much death is happening that you're becoming used to the death? Or maybe you're pleading in another way so that death doesn't become your fate? That one's a little tricky as well, I would say. So for the jumbled up letters, I still kind of think that that might be a prototype trying to talk. I don't know what else that could be. Don't let them near you. I'm assuming one of two things, okay? One, the creatures in the games. Huggy, Mommy Longlegs, PJ Pugapillar. Because if they got you, they would kill you. Two, whoever's killing people and resurrecting them weeks later, or the fate is mine to share. If I'm an orphan, right? Or even an employee, because maybe it's not just orphans. Like, I don't know. I'm assuming that they've taken some sort of orphans, and maybe they're using these orphans to do their wrongdoings. Between the orphans and the employees, maybe there's like a group of employees who are like the bad guys, who are like, no, I'm going to run these experiments no matter who you are, and I'm going to use you as my test subject. And those are the people that you don't want them to go near you. But then obviously playing through chapters 1 and 2, you don't want to go near Huggy, and you don't want to go near Mommy, and you don't want to go near PJ, because all of them are going to get you. you can take it. I'm a survivor, possibly. So it's up to me to put the creatures down. Rescue any still alive and lay the dead to rest. Or my character started all of this and the least I can do is fix it. I never said it would be easy. Alright, but what's not easy? Killing and resurrecting? Getting out alive? Ridding Playtime Co. of these creatures? Rescuing those who are captured? Coming back to the facility? It's not over. These dark secrets are still happening. The killing, the resurrecting, transforming. Maybe people are still alive and are being tortured. Going to the last point that we had, again, what if that's what's not easy? The fact that torturing is happening, things are still like progressing, like currently, what if things are still happening to these people? Like they're being locked up somewhere, and as we speak, as we go through the game, bad things are happening to people out there. Wherever these people are who have disappeared, what if things are still happening to them right now? And that's what's not easy. The act of trying to find them and locate them and save them is not easy. They are now the ones to cause pain to others because of what was done to them. So, following on the theory that an orphan or an employee was turned into some sort of creature, obviously the act of that, tragic alone. Abusive, dangerous, not great. And all of those things was done to that person, right? But now they're this monster, they're this creature, and they're out for revenge. They're hurting. So maybe the part that's not easy is the fact that those are now the ones who are creating the pain for everyone else around them. You can die later. Could be for gaming purposes, because obviously we can't play the rest of the game if our character dies and we don't get to continue exploring on. Or maybe the people who were taken need me and I can't help them if I'm dead. So the game is like, you can die later. You'll be alright. Nobody is here by choice. I don't like that. I don't like that. We just read the poster about adopting or fostering children who are orphans. And this is saying that nobody is here by choice. So are we speaking at a standpoint on the employees didn't have a choice in the end, but to foster these children or to take in, by adopting all of these orphans? Are the orphans being held here against their will and they don't want to be here? Were they kidnapped? Are people being held hostage? Obviously, if they're killed, they're probably now trapped waiting to be killed or rescued or set free. And then, of course, if they're turned into these creatures, then obviously, I don't want to die and be preserved for 2 weeks just to be turned into some creature that's going to be bloodthirsty, okay? I don't want that, and I don't want that for my friends and my family and my loved ones either, so that within itself is not easy. We're just getting started. Oof. So everything that's happened and everything we know is only the beginning of everything that is currently happening. So we've barely scratched the surface with everything that we know. The prototype has saved us. Isn't that wonderful? Alright, so Kissy Missy? If we're going against what we originally thought with what a prototype is, assuming that Kissy and Mommy and PJ and Huggy are not robots. Prototype could just mean any science experiment. Any of these, creatures that's being created from these experiments and from this torture. And I mean, when we found her, she did help us. We were trapped and we were trying to get the cart to go through, and she came through, she opened up the gate and we were able to walk through, and she just like disappeared. So, I mean, I don't know that in that moment she saved us necessarily, because we were down there by ourselves, minus her being down there with us. Or, maybe that was her being like, hey, this is my chance to try to help you escape, so I'm going to do this thing for you. Maybe that's her thing. And, as far as chapters 1 and 2 go, we don't see her again. So I'm kind of wondering, are we going to see her in chapter 3? Let me know down in the comments. Do you think that we will find Kissy Missy? And when we do find Kissy Missy, do you think that she's still going to be willing to help us? Or do you think that she's going to be evil and attack us? I really hope she stays not evil, because I don't want to be attacked and have another Huggy situation. I'd say the Claw, but his tape revealed that he killed someone who was trapped in his room, so I don't think that they would be talking about the Claw being the prototype that saved everyone, unless the person who went into the room that he killed someone who was doing this to people. The bee and I think the cat warned us when we were pressing the buttons. And I mean, maybe Mommy Longlegs. I mean, if you look at the lore papers, it might suggest that, not necessarily for the employees, but more so the orphans, because she was placed over there because she was really hostile towards the employees and the workers and stuff. And I mean, as far as the kids went, maybe she protected them as best as she could. I still have plans for you. Okay, so I'm next. That's what this is. I'm next. I don't know what else to say about that part.
Playtime Co. is the product of a great man by the name of Elliot Ludwig. Divorced, but a family man at heart. His sights were always set on bringing amazing toys to amazing children around the globe. Ludwig spent countless hours in the factory, working overtime relentlessly in an attempt to continuously innovate and surprise. In the 1960s, an unfortunate family death had pushed Ludwig down to his lowest. But with so much ambition, he rose back up and continued to fulfill his vision for the Playtime Co. toy factory. Ludwig could never be content leaving a project unfinished. But just how did one man come to create such an astounding empire? How did he manage to stay determined even after suffering such a tragic loss? It all began in the fateful year of 19...
Okay, so now that we've watched that, I think it's safe to say that he lost someone. So, is he running these experiments because he wants whoever he lost to come back? My thing is, if that's the case, right? Why kill something so significantly small and try to do this and see that you fail and then be like, oh, something bigger will work? How do you know that something bigger is going to work if the small didn't work? I mean, I guess you could have the proportions wrong, because something smaller is going to absorb a whole lot more, a whole lot quicker than something bigger. So if you got this little thing submerged in like a tank this big of this mixture, that little thing is going to be overrode with everything that you're doing to it. But you got this bigger thing laying in a tank, it's not going to absorb as much. Even if it's the same size, because there's more of you. There's more of you for it to spread out through. If I give something this big 10 milligrams, that 10 milligrams is going to override this whole little system. But if I give something like this big 10 milligrams may be not enough to override the whole system. So if they have that mentality where like, okay, well, it was so small, it was doomed to fail from the beginning, but something bigger should work. Okay. But in that case, why wouldn't you just test it on the person you're trying to bring back? I mean, they're already passed away. If you're going to run these experiments to begin with, why not just do that on the thing that I guess I can kind of understand, because if it doesn't work, you don't want to tamper with the body that you're trying to preserve, the one that you're trying to bring back. What if he was trying to bring back himself? What if he knew he was dying? Because he disappeared. The video even cut off in the middle of the year. 19 blah 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 blah. And we don't know the month or the day that happened. We just know that it was in 19 something. So what if he was doing this to prepare to not only possibly bring back whoever he lost, but maybe he himself was dying and he wanted a way to come back because he didn't feel like his mission was fulfilled. And in order to make sure that that could happen, he needed to run experiments and he needed testing to be done. And I don't know, if you ask me, if I'm in charge of something, i.e. a person, it's easier for me as the person in charge to be like, all right, well, you're going to do this thing. Versus, well, you're not the boss of me, so I don't care if you want me to do this thing. I don't want to do it, so I'm not gonna. But if I'm in charge of you and I tell you you're going to do this thing, it's a lot easier for me to make you do that. You see what I'm saying? So let's get these orphans that don't have a home. Let's give them a home. Make them feel welcome and warm and safe. And then we're going to use them. It's fucked. But also, experiment 814. It says the rat. So, like, did you try this experiment 814 times with a rat? Or did you try this experiment on other things that wasn't a rat? And this is the 814th time that you've done it. Also, it says fed 3 times a day for 2 weeks. Why is that a significant thing? Just to showcase that you kept it alive? That you fed it and you nurtured it? But then after those 2 weeks, you killed it and then submerged it in the poppy flower and the gel. What does the feeding it have anything to do with anything? What are you feeding it? So that's my theory. My theory is either, assuming that this is Elliot, right? Like, assuming this is all Elliot's doing. He either wants to bring back the loved one that he lost, or loved ones, depending on, because it was one grave, but it looked like it had a list, so it could have been more. I don't know. So maybe he's trying to bring back those who have died, or he's trying to set this up as like an insurance policy thing, where he's like, all right, well, if I die, do this so that I can come back. All right, so then there's the assessment form by Mateo. Subject name is Wakela Wysop. Assigned toy was the candy cat, and musical memory trial was a 4. Noting in as accurate, fast, and very little mistakes. Wacka Wuggy trial was a 3. Subpar accuracy, awareness, reacted fast. Statues trial was 4. Calls her Michaela. No focus, worried about something. I worried about something too. Mateo stops writing mid-sentence. Was it on purpose that the name was messed up? And then the assessment from Sarah was on the same person. It was on Michaela Hyssop. And we had talked about how the performance going from Mateo's to Sarah's writing about Michaela was different. So the note that I have was Mateo and Sarah were either recording Michaela's progress at the same time, or this was two separate times. Michaela got worse in her performance. And I said, what if Michaela is Candy Cat? I mean, we really haven't met Candy Cat outside of the cutout that we did. So I don't know how that would be. Maybe, I'm thinking here, so like two different people, right, do this information for the same person. So is this person doing it back to back? Is it two separate occasions? Is it at the same time? And if it is two separate occasions, how far in between each occasion is it happening? Because you're bringing this child back through these series of games multiple times. So what is the reason behind that? And like, what are you doing? Like, what happened to Michaela between those two times? You know, like, did you throw her in there the first time, record how she did, and then altered her somehow, some way, and then threw her back in there? And that was the other person's recordings of how she did? And whose came first? Was it Mateo's or was it Sarah's? I don't know. So then it says transfer request. So we already went over this one too. The experiment 1222 was Mommy Longlegs, is what we were saying. Subject is Marie Payne. So is Marie Payne Mommy Longlegs? Because why else would Marie Payne be the subject for experiment 1222, who happens to be Mommy Longlegs? And is Marie Payne an orphan? Or is she a co-worker, like an employee? Not a co-worker, but an employee. Because it said that she was hostile to the employees. Which in my head meant that she was an employee. And therefore the co-workers would be, you know, her friends, the people that she worked with. So unless they're employing Mommy Longlegs, and so the co-workers are to Mommy Longlegs instead of whoever was turned into Mommy Longlegs. Like, Mommy Longlegs became an employee when she became Mommy Longlegs. Now, here's something that I did notice though, because and this is why we have so many questions, that like, instead of just getting answers for these questions, we're also getting more questions. Because I noted here that the transfer is to move Mommy to the game station to be around the children. They didn't think she'd harm the kids. First of all, have you seen those game stations? They're covered in blood. Okay, so unless the blood is from Mommy protecting the children, Mommy probably helped hurt the kids. But I have noted here that there is a picture in the game station from Marie. And the picture is of her and Mommy. So this is implying that Marie is a child. Alright, so I'm going to stick with that this theory is debunked. Just because I was incorrect about the picture, because looking back at it and it's saying Tammy, that doesn't give us evidence that that was from Marie, and I originally read it as Marie, but looking at it again for this, I don't think that that is. And I did try looking up to see if we could find one from Marie in case maybe I just went back to the wrong image and I couldn't find it. So I'm gonna stand corrected on this one and it's gonna be debunked. So I think we're back to square one. Is Marie a child or is she a coworker? All right, so then moving along is Warren Beck construction. Okay, so Eddie wants a lab built at the factory and wants it to be a secret. Only a select few at Playtime Co. can know, along with who's working on the project at Warren Beck, and no one else. He wants it done in 12 months and is willing to pay $100,000 for it. And I'm like, for what? To turn your employees into creatures? To kill the kids? Like, what are you doing with this factory inside of a factory? So that's a little sus in itself. Like, what are you building? Is it another room? Another display, kind of like how Huggy Wuggy was on a podium? I'm curious. I want to know what was built. I don't... Tell me the answers. Except don't actually tell me the answers in the comments because I don't want it ruined. Okay, well then they hit us with some employee instructions. And I'm, again, just kind of briefly going through this quickly because we've already, for the most part, gone through the lore. But part of the lore, I feel like, ties into theories. So, employee instructions. Report to control station to pick up kids at 8 a.m. Pick up the kids from where? Stay a minimum of 20 feet from mommy as she is hostile with employees. I would be too if my employees killed me and turned me into this creature. Okay, so it says employees, not necessarily co-workers. So let's see, what is the theory here? Do we think that an employee of Playtime Co. got turned into Mommy Longlegs? Or do we think that a child got turned into Mommy Longlegs? Either way, if my coworkers or people who are supposed to be there to protect me are hurting me and turning me into this thing, I would not be gentle with those people. Whether I'm a child or a coworker of those people, I would be hostile to them too. Regardless. I think she's a child. I think she's Marie. Honestly, I think she's Marie. Watch for composure, memory, pattern recognition, hand-eye coordination, reaction time, agility, strength, and speed for to know if they would be a good experiment test subject. So that's my theory on why they do that, is so that they could, like, you know how when they're going through all this stuff and like Mateo and Sarah were jotting all of those informations down about Michaela Hysop? I think that's why. Because if she's gonna fail to do the job that I'm programming her to do, more or less, then I'm not gonna use her in my experiments. But if she, you know, has like great agility and like can move fast and, you know, is all over the place and has a better chance at succeeding, then she's gonna be, or he, they're gonna be like a better candidate for the experiment that I am doing. So, and then it says that only one kid can be in the game at a time. So they're singling out every child. Formal request form. Dr. Matthew. Requesting fake windows. Glass with lights behind them. These fake windows have me dead as hell. That's what it is. I don't care who you are. In a place like this, where more and more secrets are coming out of your negligence and your ill intent, we don't need no fake fucking windows. And the fact that you want them is like, why? Why do you want fake windows? Originally, I thought he was here to aid the kids. But now I think he's the one doing this to them. In the lab, the innovation factory. Because if we're piecing together like the pieces of the lore that we were given, it sounds to me like they're building some sort of secret lab or facility or place for maybe to house the orphans, maybe to run the experiments, maybe to expand Playtime Co. somehow, some way. I don't know. And inside whatever it is that they are building, they're gonna load it up with some fake windows to give the illusion that things are better. You know, like, I think fake windows are all around, like, no matter what. Because if you look at the windows inside the game station and all of the little pieces that we're going off to do and to play, they all have fake windows in there, don't they? Like, it bothers me that they want to use fake windows. I mean, even if it is to make everything look more lively, but you can still make things look more lively by giving an actual window. So why does it have to be a fake one? So I'm gonna kind of pick a little bit at like the misspellings and things, just because maybe it ties into something later. And I think I touched a little bit about this already in the chapter 1 theories, but I'm not entirely sure. So while editing the trophies video, I realized that Mateo misspelt Michaela's name, and she put it as Wysop. No, he didn't. He put Michaela as Wakayla. If you look at the message from the beginning of chapter 1, there are also typos. Then the spelling on the stairs sign in chapter 1 is also wrong, but is backwards. I'm thinking that Mateo wrote the note and the words on the stairs. Because if we're following patterns and like consistencies and stuff, it makes the most sense that Mateo would be the one to do that, because he was misspelling things in his report for Michaela. So I need to find some Mateo and have a conversation, because I think Mateo's the one that's sending the notes and trying to drop very subtle clues. Maybe about where he's at. Disappeared was spelled incorrectly. I believe it had 2 P's. Hell was backwards, so the E looks more like a 3 instead of an E. P. Then we have a backwards E. We also have Michaela spelled with a W. Which only says pew. Because there was a double P and it only needed 1, so there was an extra P. And then the E was backwards, so I think that they were trying to have the E stand out. And then the M in her name was turned into a W. So it's either P-E-M or P-E-W. or P3M or P3W. MQ, P3M, P3W. I don't know what it means. And I'm wondering if there's any other typos somewhere else where there shouldn't be. Mateo, what you doing, bro? So what if we're being preserved and finally woke up 10 years later and are coming back to find the others? So what if we are, like the character that you play in Poppy Playtime, what if that character, because we're an ex-employee and everyone disappeared 10 years ago, and then suddenly we're back and we're, searching through everything. I still have not figured out, like, a solid reason why we would be back at Playtime Co. Like, why wait 10 years? Like, I understand, those are my friends, let me go investigate. But why wait 10 years to do the investigations? Like, if my best friend and my entire friend group just suddenly went missing, I'm not going to wait 10 years before I go back and investigate. Why would I wait 10 years? They might be, dead by then. They might be moved on to a new life or whatever they're, they might be in danger that entire time. Like, who knows what would be happening during that time? So, what if our character that we play was in the process of becoming one of these creatures? What if we were killed and preserved? And because everyone disappeared, the process got interrupted. And so I more or less was just there being preserved over these years. And maybe the preservative finally wore off and it took 10 years for that to happen. Maybe whatever we were turned into, you need to keep up on and do certain things to make sure that you stay in that state of mind. And after 10 years, maybe I resorted back to what I used to be. Or maybe we are Elliot and Elliot died somehow and it took him 10 years to come back. That's also a possibility. That also ties into this next note here that I've got. What if the things being said in chapters 1 and 2, death messages, are things that I've been told, but before was no longer at Playtime Co. Like, still as an employee, a current employee at Playtime Co., I'm being told these things. And then when I die, I'm remembering bits of what's going on. Or I'm currently in the flower and I'm coding and they're trying to bring me back to life and the game is me reliving everything as it happens. So in other words, I'm already dead. Damage has been done. Everyone else died. And I was resurrected to save the others. But to do that, I have to relive through everything. I'm just trying to figure out why it took us 10 years to come back after leaving. What if they used the orphans to feed Huggy, and going back to the messages in the vent, maybe an orphan wrote them, and that's why it says stranger. Okay, so we need to unpack something here. Poppy straight up says, "While I'm still a doll." What do you mean by that, Poppy? Because that kind of plays into the other part of my theory that I was thinking on what if I was turned into a creature, but then maintenance and whatever happens to keep me as a creature isn't happening anymore because everyone is gone? That we reverted back to, what we were before that? So what if that's going to happen to Poppy and Poppy knows that it's coming? And maybe in order to stop the process from that happening, they need us. Could that be why they need us? But that heavily also implies that she wasn't always a doll. And that she's really not a doll. But right now she is. That implies that at some point she's not going to be a doll anymore. Whether that's because she's going to die or because she's going to stop being a doll and she's going to go back to her old self. And the last theory that I really kind of have is, what if this whole thing started because Elliot wanted to bring back a loved one? And so the whole thing started because he wanted to make sure that in order to bring back this loved one, it was going to work. And he wasn't going to use it on the loved one until he had 100% certainty that it would work. Okay, so what do we think? Who do we think is Mommy Longlegs? And do we think that anybody is PJ Pokepillar? And like, Elliot, we're on to you. Brother, we are on to you. Let me know your own theories down in the comments. So don't be forgetting to leave me a comment and a like. And if you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.